Know the litmus test for truth. Find out what it is in this episode of 5 Minutes Closer. I'm Vaughn Weatherford, and this is 5 Minutes Closer. For the next 5 minutes, let's explore some biblical truths and apply them to your life. No podcast, including this one, can transform your life or give you what you really need. Only Jesus can do that. You can find out why in what I've called the first five episodes of 5 Minutes Closer. Each following episode explores scriptural truths that, if you follow them, will bring you 5 minutes closer to the person God created you to be. Let's see if we can get you 5 minutes closer. I remember third grade science. Well, at least I remember one day of my third grade science. We were learning the difference between acid and base. My teacher passed out what looked like purple Post-it notes. She called them pieces of litmus paper. You could put the paper into different liquids and the litmus paper would change color. One color meant the liquid had acidic qualities, while another color meant it was base. We then experimented on different liquids, learning that lemon juice was an acid, while soapy water was a base. I had more fun testing the people around me. According to the litmus test, the kid in front of me was more acidic, the kid in back of me was more base, and the girl across the row, she was just really angry. Actually, I didn't need the litmus paper to tell me that. John provides a litmus test for believers of his day, and the Bible offers the same for us today. How can we tell if a teaching is truly from God? The test is even more straightforward than litmus paper. It's found in the 9th verse of 2 John. There the Bible says, "Everyone who goes on ahead and does not abide in the teaching of Christ does not have God. Whoever abides in the teaching has both the Father and the Son." Jesus is the test. The New Testament era was a very religious period in the history of the Western world. You could find nearly any religious expression you might want. There were ancient religions that had been around for thousands of years. There were new religions based on the philosophical flavors of the month. And then there was everything in between. You could have a religion that taught strict rules, or you could have a religion that essentially had no rules at all. You could have a religion with many gods, or you could have a religion that raised knowledge to the level of a god. And if you didn't like the religion that you had, you could go down to the local meeting spot and find people discussing all kinds of other options. Some made a religion out of discussing religion. There was no lack whatsoever of the choices available. So how are you supposed to choose? How could you know which one was right and which one wasn't? Maybe they were all right. Perhaps it didn't matter what you chose. Or maybe it was the choosing that was the thing. Maybe sitting around discussing who was right and having a good debate was the whole point. Maybe that was the ticket. John knew the truth. In the presence of Jesus, he learned the key. Any teaching that departs from Christ is not pointing to God. Without Christ, you have nothing. For John, it wasn't really a litmus test. It was more like the canary test. So the story goes, miners used to take canaries in a cage with them down into the mine. They knew what it meant if they looked over and the canary had died. It meant, get out of the mine. The canary is sensitive to changes in the air quality. If the oxygen content was too low or if some poisonous gas was building up in the mine, the canary would die before the miners. So if your canary was lying in the bottom of the cage, it was time to head for the exit. John saw any teaching that did not include the whole teaching of Christ in the same way. He warned that if you hear a teaching that takes away from the person of Christ or changes the teachings of Jesus, it's time to head for the exit. In the final verses of his letter, John warns not to let false teachers into your home. He wasn't being inhospitable. John realized the seriousness of the question. Without Christ, the canary is dead. And so is the religion. Religion without Jesus is just that, religion. It's an interesting discussion, or maybe it's not all that interesting at all, but it's of no eternal value. The test, does it match the teachings of Christ? If not, it's time to get out of the mine. Without Christ, you have nothing. And now you know, because now you're 5 minutes closer. My prayer is that these 5 minutes have challenged you, inspired you, and caused you to consider applying God's message for your life from His Word. To find out more, visit our website at 5minutescloser.com. Join me next time to see if we can get you 5 minutes closer.